Strange things are happening with the Joe Rogan Experience in the most recent episode with the former president. Now, it's not only he who will be appearing. No, J.D. Vance now also saying he will go on with Joe. Questions now abound. Will Kamala join in as well? And if all that happens, and that would be swell, what's going on with the numbers? What's going on with the glitches? And oh yeah, Joe Rogan just went to Elon, just went to X. All right, folks, this is out of News Busters by Rich Noyes or Noyes. TV hits Trump with 85% negative news versus 78% positive press for Harris. This is just the appetizer. We're not going to go into politics. You don't have to like the politicians that we like or one of us likes, or so. None of that. This is just to set it up for a moment. Then we'll get into what's going on. It says, 1 week before Election Day, a new analysis from the Media Research Center finds that broadcast evening news coverage of the 2024 presidential race has been the most lopsided in history. Since July, ABC, CBS, and NBC have treated Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris to 78% positive coverage, while these same networks have pummeled former Republican President Donald Trump with 85% negative coverage. Now, it goes on to talk about that in depth. Folks, if you want to read it, go check out Newsbusters. You can find out. But here's what's happening. As a result of some of this, billionaires are beginning to, what should we say, abandon what's been going on for the past 10 years. And when the billionaires begin to move, that's when real movement happens. You saw it first with Elon. We've begun to get inklings of it out of Zuck. Now Bezos is ducking, and running out of it. Here's what we've got. New York Times. Jeff Bezos defends decision to end Washington Post endorsements. Mr. Bezos, the newspaper's owner, said that presidential endorsements create a perception of bias. Yeah. And that my views here are, in fact, principled. Oh, it's a new Elon. Here we go. This is by Katie Robertson and Benjamin Mullen. We'll get to the freakout after this. Jeff Bezos, the billionaire owner of the Washington Post, whose decision to end presidential endorsements at the paper set off a firestorm inside and outside the paper last week, said on Monday in his first comments about the change that it had been done to improve the newsroom's credibility, not to protect his own personal interests. Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election, Mr. Bezos wrote in an essay published on the Post website. He added, what presidential endorsements actually do is create a perception of bias, a perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision, and it's the right one. The paper had announced the decision to end endorsements on Friday. Go ahead.
He says that he's writing this essay as the owner of the Washington Post. And yes. Zero self-awareness, a perception of non-independence, as he is the owner of the Washington Post is writing this in an essay. Sorry,
No, I'm with you. Listen, and that goes back to the idea that the general population has lost all hope, and that is why, as they lost hope in the legacy dinosaur news media, which, by the way, the Washington Post would be part of that.
Yep.
As they lost trust that they were getting any kind of objective news ever in that. Everything had been editorialized and partisanized, it's a new word I'm making up, into a particular political mold. Everyone left. The consumer left. It took a decade to make that happen. Now, as that's going extinct, they're moving to a new place. We'll talk about the new place, and we'll talk about the backlash in just a moment. But you're exactly right. Bezos is trying to thread the needle here. He's trying to say, we're not going to be biased. At the same time, he's not going to come out and say, we've been in the tank, baby. He's not going to do that.
Well, but it's also something else. And I know I'm interjecting halfway through the story, but I really need to. And it's because you're seeing this from all of the, like the Zuckerbucks and the Bezos bucks and all these people. They want to be loved. They're looking at Elon and what he's doing, and they're looking at the unification under one particular, person at the moment. They're looking at a unified group of humans that are coming together to roust out the things that have been going bad for the last decade, which is not just this paper, right? But it's, WAPO, the Times in LA, et cetera, et cetera. they're all like having to course correct because they know they've been in the tank for this one particular thought processes, and they've been found out. And as they continue to be exposed, and they have a certain level of fear of what could happen, come the change of leadership day, they really see the writing on the wall. And so does Lorne Michaels, who, came out and said, I didn't like what NBC did to Shane Gillis. This is happening across the board. This isn't happening in a vacuum. We're watching in real time people immediately trying to make a shift that will not put them at odds with what they were talking about, but at the same time move them in the right direction so they don't face any additional backlash, which I think they're probably all tired of at this point, bro.
So let me give you a thesis on why I think this is happening.
Okay.
If we go to Variety, Todd Spangler. Yeah. Folks, we got to be careful on how we present this because we're going to be talking about the platform in which we exist, our primary residence here on the web. Don't want to lose the megaphone. I'm going to have to reassess. We did that video 2 days ago. It's got over 750,000 views on it. And in that video, I talk about how many views it looked like the Joe Rogan Experience was going to get. That's no longer going to be true. We're going to carefully talk about it. But folks, if you want my full, unedited thoughts on this situation and what I think is really going on, Patreon's the place to go. It'll be coming out later today. You can find out what I actually fully, totally, comprehensively think about it. But out of Variety, it says YouTube says it has fixed search results for Joe Rogan's Donald Trump interview to show full episode. It's the most viewed episode of the Joe Rogan Experience of 2024 to date on YouTube. It would be far more than that had things not gone awry. Searches on YouTube for Joe Rogan's October 25th interview of Donald Trump were not prominently displaying the original podcast episode, a situation that the Google-owned video giant said it has now rectified. For some searches on Monday, the original 3-hour interview didn't appear prominently, it said in a statement. Short excerpts uploaded by the Joe Rogan channel appeared, but we know it was frustrating for users looking to find the full video. We've worked to resolve this, and viewers will begin seeing the full podcast in more YouTube search results soon. Now, Rogan had reposted a comment that said, try to find the Rogan Trump interview on YouTube, but no matter what I search, it's not coming up. Would be beyond bonkers if, and then it says what it says. Must be a glitch, right? We're not going to get into whether or not this was purposeful. Not here. I do in another place. Patreon. We're not going to get into whether or not it was purposeful. What we are going to say is, what's the result of it? Purposeful or not? And that's this. Elon Musk now has that episode on X. People thought that was impossible because there's a contract that exists for Joe Rogan in regards to how the Joe Rogan Experience episodes can be posted, where they're allowed to go, which platforms can have them. So most of us thought they primarily have to be on Spotify and then YouTube can get them. Well, somehow, some way, it's now hosted in full, incomplete by the man who owns X. And this is what's causing the freakout. When they attempt, and I'm not suggesting YouTube attempted anything wrong whatsoever, but when the Washington Post editors, for example, or when ABC News, CBS News, or NBC News, when any of them try to pull the tricks they've done in the past, X is there, and Elon is ready to pounce. And that is now seemingly pulling people like Bezos and Zuckerberg over to Elon's side of saying, we can't compete with him. He's beating us with this. Zuckerberg can't let Facebook go down in flames. Bezos doesn't want to be unpopular, as Culture said. And soon, folks, I'm here to tell you, it's going to spread. It's going to go to the Igers. Because as political and partisan as they are, they love their yachts. They love their yachts a lot. And they don't want to give up the yachts. No. There's never enough yachts. And so eventually, free speech seems to be winning. Panel, tear me to shreds. Am I wrong?
No, I think the competition is good, for one thing. There's a story that was sent to me that a former a person who is now a detractor of the channel sent it to me, talking about YouTube's attempts to do some reworking of the system over here, taking away view count in the public when you're browsing videos and things like that. I think they're trying to exercise more control over their platform. And
yeah, that's actually a topic coming up later, because we're gonna look at the pressure that's coming down on YouTube right now, Jonas. People don't realize this. There is huge pressure raining down on YouTube, because blame is going to go somewhere if this doesn't go the way they want. And right now, they seem to be ready to blame YouTube.
Well, I think the important thing here is that there is competition. The mainstream media has competition with YouTube and X. YouTube having competition with the green machine that gets us in trouble if we mention it. I'm going to follow Culture's lead on that. Or, of course, the fact that if Elon Musk actually had a searchable database for videos, I think that YouTube would be in real danger here, because right now the only thing keeping X from being a truly viable alternative is the interface is not prone towards this kind of content. If people had actual channels that they could subscribe to on X as opposed to someone's random feed, I'm reminded of people tweeting about their eating a taco today. You don't need that in the middle of your video content.
Yeah, and I think you're going to actually see that sooner rather than later, Jonas. I think he's going to take full advantage of obviously with TikTok coming up on their ban time in January, and with YouTube dropping the ball when it comes to content distribution. Elon's invested in multiple service centers full of machine servers to start to utilize and do some of these things. So I think in the future we'll be seeing
Project Culture.
Say again?
Is that the Memphis project that he's doing?
I'm not sure what the code name is, but he's been spending a ton of money on server farms. Just a ton.
Yeah, he just bought he doubled his NVIDIA processors or whatever in his AI race. I saw that was a big.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is apparently the city of Memphis, Tennessee, is having to upgrade their power grid because Elon is getting ready to do something big. Not sure what that is, but
he's gonna do something that it's gonna sound unheard of by expanding his compute power, because he talked about it, and so did the owner of, or not owner, but the CEO of NVIDIA not that long ago. So,
well, guys, let's give YouTube for the moment the benefit of the doubt and say that this was just a glitch. Even if it's just a glitch, here's the problem. I never thought that I would see a full Joe Rogan Experience episode suddenly appear on X, and Elon Musk is the guy posting it. I didn't even think contractually that could happen. But this can happen over and over again. And so literally, X now is such an anti-suppression force that if you attempt, or if there is an inadvertent effect that causes something not to get the kind of views that you would expect. So let me sidebar for just a moment, okay? I'll give you an example. In the situation of this Joe Rogan Experience podcast on YouTube, you guys know as professional YouTubers that once you cut the normal trajectory of a video, so let's say you take one of your videos that's released on your channel, and let's say that you private it after 4 hours, and then 4 hours later you relaunch it. YouTube, the algorithm is not going to reward you in any way for that. You will be definitively punished for it. So even if YouTube fixes the glitch so that Joe Rogan's video is more visible, the whole trajectory of that video is altered. Not even, and the news cycle is altered as well. And so you would say, well, there's a get your cake, and enjoy both sides of it here, because one, it's suppressed. Two, it bumps out of that news coverage. And three, it'll never recover the trajectory that it was on. But if Musk releases it on X like this, it is like a hypercharged giga Barbara Streisand effect. Culture, take it.
No, I want to ask a question, Pro, and I'm going to do this in the stealthiest possible way. Why do the glitches always occur just on one side of the political aisle?
Ooh.
Well, because there's savvy partisan glitches, right? I mean, Murphy must be a Democrat.
Okay, fair enough. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's been any notable incident of a creator like this. I can't even mention the kind of videos that make it through the algorithm because they happen to be favoring certain social issues that are, again, completely inappropriate for children, definitely not safe for advertisers, as we understand the advertiser guidelines to be, and yet they aren't suppressed on.
Well, and they're and ads are running on them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I guess we should sort of wrap this conversation up by asking this. Is this the moment? Because we talked about how the Joe Rogan Experience episode 2 days ago, we talked about how that was the first time that the legacy news media was going to be defeated in terms of viewership. That episode is bigger than the debates in terms of ratings. Then this happens, and that alters that statement. Then Musk puts it straight onto X anyway, which, guys, the viewership's going to be insane on X. It's going to be insane. We'll keep this tracked. We're going to keep an eye on it. But it may actually explode it to higher numbers than you could have ever seen anywhere else. So is this the moment where they realize the jig is up? They can no longer manipulate, and I'm not suggesting that YouTube did at all, but they, being those in power, that they can no longer manipulate and control what is seen, what is heard, that now, as long as Musk is doing what he's doing, that stuff is going to exist. It's going to get out there to the public. Is this the moment?
Yeah, I think this is. Well,
at the exact same time, Culture says yeah, and John says no. All right, Culture, you've said a lot. Let's go to John first, then Culture will come to you.
No, these people have made it very clear that they have no intention of stopping what they're doing. They're going to continue to do this. I mean, if you've lived in the past 4 or 5 years, you've seen that they continue to do this, whether it be the I don't know, what are we calling it? The shot or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it just finds a new way, finds a new form. It adapts, right?
Like,
so
like
I just don't. What's that?
It's like Jurassic Park. Censorship finds a way.
Yes, it finds a way. So I don't think that they're going to stop doing this. Obviously, I do think that Elon Musk, and I've said this on multiple times, does kind of pose a threat and does provide an option. But these people are going to still keep doing this. I don't think they have any intention of doing it. I just did an article on that Park Place just yesterday talking about a former Disney executive talking about why she sees that how all of these Hollywood studios are just being absolutely run into the ground by a lot of the equity money that I know Culture likes to talk about a lot. And you listen to how Larry Fink talks about it in 2017, where he's talking about forcing behaviors in that New York Times book fair interview. And he's basically saying the same thing in 2021. He's just using new language now. He's not calling it DEI or ESG or that anymore. He's using? It's like stockholder or stakeholder capitalism.
Stakeholder capitalism, yeah.
Or is it
it's the outright Marxist way to present it.
Yeah. So they just find new ways to try and repackage the same thing over and over again. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see here. They're just going to find a new way to do it. I think Jonas was already talking about how they're going to be changing the YouTube user interface on the homepage, or they're not going to be showing views and they're not going to be showing dates or any of that stuff. I just don't see them changing
we'll have that story
this
coming up, John. It's definitely on my radar. Culture, your thought?
No, I was just going to say, in addition to what John said, they're already changing the language again, and they are codifying it into different corporations. The new language is Bridge, and Microsoft is the primary example. That brought to you by neo-Marxist number one himself, Bill Gates. So when you start to see these things, you're 100% right. These equity, investment firms and the places you put your money for your 401k, kid, with Vanguard and BlackRock and.
Larry Fink's over 50% of his money is from 401ks and retirement funds.
Yeah. And so your money that is being managed by these entities is being misused and not properly representing their fiduciary duty. If we really wanted to, we could fire a national class action lawsuit and start going after these guys. The problem is, who's going to lead it and who's going to pay for it? Because
We're getting, and you all are sharing this. Panelists are sharing me this on the back end of the system we've got here. Apparently, we're finding out that people like Shapiro, Carlson, Klavan, they're getting requested from the New York Times to give some sort of information for a hit piece on the platform in which we exist. So there is a concerted effort that seems to be happening. But guys, I want to show you something. We're going to jump the topic just a little bit because, well, you forced my hand. We were going to save this. This was going to come at the latter part. We'll come back to it again, but we can't leave this out now because of what you've been discussing. This is the tug of war that's happening. Tesla Synopsis says, Elon, please make X compete with the platform in which we exist. Easy, long format video upload. Allow 4K. Easy to find videos. And Musk says, it's not like I don't want those things. And then Tesla Synopsis laughs and says, I read that as it is coming. This is the nightmare scenario for the biggest platforms, is that Elon spreads out into other mediums and the most consumed mediums in particular. So this is why they cannot suppress. As long as he exists, if they suppress, he will win.
Are you sick and tired of stuff being swept under the rug because you or the media are too lazy to actually deal with it? Or are things just building up around you so much that you can no longer ignore it? Also like the mainstream media? Well, I got the solution for you. I'm Wilton the Troll, and I want to tell you about this revolutionary new product called Jonas. That's right, no longer do you have to put up with stuff shoved under the rug. You can actually get rid of it and dispose of the problem in seconds by using Jonas. You can, in a matter of seconds, deal with the political and illogical buildup of the muck and grime around you effectively and efficiently with Jonas. You might think this is an ordinary vacuum, but you'd be wrong. You can clean up and remove from one end, but Jonas, he actually works from both ends. From the back end, Jonas can blow a whole bunch of hot air, and that's cool. Remember, folks, if you actually want to deal with the dirt and grime the mainstream media has been neglectful about, get Jonas, because Jonas sucks.